Day 2 of the Holy Spirit, and we're going to talk today about when the Holy Spirit came to indwell believers. This takes place on Pentecost, which happens in the Bible, Acts 2. It says, "When the day of Pentecost arrived, they were all together in one place. And suddenly there came from heaven a sound like a mighty rushing wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. And divided tongues as of fire appeared to them and rested on each one of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterances." So if you remember from yesterday, the disciples were waiting on this helper or advocate that Jesus had promised them. But it actually was something that was promised and prophesied about way before Jesus came. Ezekiel 36 verses 26 and 27 says, "And I will give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and be careful to obey my rules." Okay, in Jeremiah 31 verse 33 says, "For this is the new covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they will be my people." This is prophecy about the Spirit indwelling believers. This was something that God was talking about way, way back when in the Old Testament. So as Christians, we recognize two separate covenants. There's the Abrahamic covenant, and then there is the new covenant, and that is the covenant that we are under. And this is when the Holy Spirit comes to indwell believers, and this is the new covenant he was talking about in Jeremiah 31. In Hebrews chapter 8, it says, "For if that first covenant had been faultless, there would be no occasion to look for a second." And he goes on to quote the Jeremiah quote that says, "For this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my laws into their minds and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they will be my people." So the day of Pentecost was a very big deal. Obviously, the Spirit came in and dwelled believers. They were speaking in tongues, and there were people all around listening, thinking that they were drunk, and it's this huge ordeal. But it was so much more than that. It was God establishing. This is the very beginning of the new covenant. This is the Spirit coming to indwell believers, and this was something that had been promised so long ago. So this was really a turning point. Acts 2 is a turning point. So basically, back in the days of Moses, God gave Moses the law to write on stone. And so we have, on Mount Sinai, Moses gets the tablets. He writes the law on the stones. And then we have the day of Pentecost, where he's writing the law on the hearts. Now, we're going to talk more about tongues later this week, but I just wanted to take today to talk about the covenant, because this was the beginning. This was the establishment of the new covenant that God promised.